Hi, this is Chef Paul, and today we're going to be making jambalaya. Now, we're going to go over jambalaya. We went over it in class, and you saw Chef Paul, or the real Chef Paul Perdone, show you how to making jambalaya in one pot and how you would make it at home. I'm showing you how a restaurant does it, so we're going to do it a little bit different, but the same basic ingredients. First of all, I'm going to show you again how to cut a bell pepper. We haven't done a lot of it. The celery, the onions, and then the bell pepper. You can use any color bell pepper, green, yellow, it doesn't really matter. I'm using red, I have red. Remember, in Cajun food, they call this the Holy Trinity. You know, it's almost like their style of mirepoix. Remember we talked about mirepoix. It's kind of like a Cajun mirepoix. They call it the Holy Trinity: celery, onions, and bell pepper. So anyway, here you go. I'm going to show you really quick how you dice one of these up. Now you just go like this, one, get your end there, right? And then it stays flat like that. Then you just kind of go one, turn your knife, see how easy this is? Like that, you just go like this, and now you have all these pieces, and then you can break these off if there's a little bit here left, and that's it. Now you have all that to use. Now what we do is we're just gonna take this and you make those strips. Remember, whenever we dice, we make strips first. You make your little strips, and then you dice them. Now you can take off this white if you want. A little bit of that's a little bitter, but that's okay, it's not gonna hurt it. All right, so you're gonna put this in here, you make your little strips, right? And then we're going to put it in. So again, this is called the Holy Trinity. All right, so that's celery, onions, and bell peppers. Very similar to the French style mirepoix, which was onions, celery, and carrots. So you can see the French influence here definitely is here in Louisiana. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in here. I'm going to put this all so you can see that. Now I'm going to go over our mise en place, what we have here. All right, so we already went over the Holy Trinity, which is your celery, onions, and bell peppers. I have some green onions we're going to be using. I have some garlic we're going to be using. I have ham. Okay, so I got a smoked ham here. Remember in the video they used a tasso ham, which is a Cajun ham. This is just your basic smoked ham that you can get anywhere. I'm using a spicy sausage here. It's actually an Italian sausage. You can use any style of sausage, but I did have the Cajun andouille. Any sausage you get will work. It really doesn't matter. We're also going to be adding later chicken and shrimp. You can have mussels, you can have clams, you can add anything to this. If you don't want to have any of this pork, you can just make it with chicken or vegetables. Whatever you need to do. I'm going to show you the base though, how you do this. You also have diced tomatoes. We have chicken stock. We have a tomato sauce, and then we have bay leaves. These are fresh bay leaves actually that were pulled off a tree and dried, and we're going to use those. So what you do, like we're showing this like a restaurant does it. So our rice has already been separated, it's already cooked. We're gonna make a base. So to start that, we're gonna come over to our pot, all right? And then we're gonna start cooking everything. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna add the fat. I'm gonna add some fat here, right? Just nice and hot. I'm gonna start putting our Holy Trinity inside. So start putting this in. And put this inside. Some onions in there. Celery, put our sausage, break this all up, cook this all. Now you kind of break it up. You can have this on high, and we're just going to cook this. I'm going to break this sausage, and we're going to let this go a little bit. So I'm going to let this cook a little bit. I'm going to start to season it as well. So I'm going to be using Creole seasoning. You can use any type of Cajun Creole seasoning. I'm actually using Paul Perdone's right now, but you can make your own. You can use any one or any hot spices you have. I'm going to let this cook for a while. So we're going to let this go. We're going to check on it in 5 minutes and see how it looks. Okay, so you can see this has been going for almost 10 minutes right now on high. I'm just trying to get it all cooked. You can see all the the ham's in there. We have sausage, 2 types of sausage, ham. So you have things with a lot of salt. So you really have to be careful with the amount of salt you add because you have a lot of salt in the sausage right now. So, and I added the Cajun seasoning So I'm looking pretty good right now. So now what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to add the rest. So I'm going to add tomato product to it. I'm going to, I got some little bit of diced tomatoes here. A little diced tomato in there. I'm going to add a little bit of tomato sauce, and you can use whatever you like, or you make your own. If we were at the school, you'd definitely be making your own, but I just got a tomato sauce here. We're going to add that in there. Then we're going to add some chicken stock. All right. Let's go in. And you can see that goes like that. You got a nice little base here. What I'm going to do, put all that in there. So we're going to bring this back up, and if you remember on the video, you could add the rice to it, and then you would cook everything in one pot with the chicken and all that. We're going to do it a little bit differently. We're going to make a base, and then we're going to cook the chicken and the shrimp, and I'm going to show you how you put it together. So we're going to let this simmer for about 20 minutes. Okay, so look, we're back to our sauce. It's been cooking about, I don't know, about 15 minutes or so. We're just letting it reduce down. And now I'm going to show you how you put this together. So like if this was a restaurant, or even if we were at Deer Valley, this is how we'd be doing it, if we were going to make a jambalaya, because you don't want to have everything in the day before, or if you make it, it'll get mushy. So what you do is you make things in a restaurant separate. So we have a jambalaya base going right now, which you went over. We did our rice pilaf, which is already cooked and ready to go over here, which we will add later. And then we're going to come over here, and we're going to do one more layer. Now we're going to put our proteins back in there. So this would be like a restaurant, or even in Deer Valley, if we were catering, you get the order, it's time to put it out. So everything's raw right now, so it will be nice and fresh. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna season, right? We don't need to season our sausages and our ham, but our shrimp and our chicken, we definitely need to. So we're gonna go ahead and put some of the Cajun seasoning again. We're just gonna make it basic. This is a basic Cajun seasoning. There's all kinds. This is Paul Perdone's. These are butterflied shrimp. I split them. It makes them look a little bit larger. So we're going to just season them up a little bit, right? Get them all nice and seasoned. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to come over here. I'm going to put some fat in this pan. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to put our chicken inside. And that's what you want. It should be hot. Go ahead and throw some chicken in here. Nice and hot. Get that seasoning in there. Put some more. Get it all nice and seasoned. Okay. I'll just put all the seasoning in there. Shrimp, chicken. Perfect. And we're going to put a little bit of the sausage. A little bit more sausage again, so we're adding more meat to it. Okay. We're going to add a little bit more of the mirepoix, or the Holy Trinity, the Cajun style mirepoix, a little more onions, a little bell peppers. So this is what a restaurant would do. You're getting an order right now, right? You got everything going. Now you got to make sure it moves. That's what you want to get, that browning. That's beautiful. That's what you want to see on the chicken. Kind of brown all that, keeping it nice and hot. Getting it nice and brown. So we have our base here that we're going to add in a little bit, and the rice will come in at the end. But what we're going to do is we're going to get this all seared right now. And a pinch more ham, not a lot. Right. Add some of the shrimp. You could put mussels in this, you could put clams, whatever you want. I'm going to get this nice and hot like this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this whole pan in the oven right now. Put this whole pan in the oven. I'm going to continue to cook it in the oven. And okay, so if you see here, it came out of the oven. You have a nice brownie on everything. You have your shrimp. We have the sausage. And now we got to add our base to it. Okay, all these are cooked. We're going to put them together, and then we're going to simmer them back up. Similar to how we saw it in the video when we cooked everything in one pot, but all the proteins stay fresh. They won't be overcooked because you do it to order. So what we're gonna do now is I'm just gonna take some of this base and put it right inside. And remember, when you're doing this, you can add as much I added some Tabasco, some Crystal hot sauce to it. You can add whatever your favorite seasonings are, okay? And let that in here. Put this, and remember, this came out of the oven, so it's hot, right? So I'm using this. I'm gonna go ahead, our rice is already cooked, so I'm gonna go ahead and put some of this rice in here. Pull our bay leaves. Those are actually fresh bay leaves. You can just put this in. We're just gonna let this go. I'm gonna add some rice to it. I'm gonna mix it up. And we're gonna let it simmer some more. And then we're gonna be done. So just kind of get this all in there like that. All right, looks good. Move this off to the side. Just kind of put this in. And now we're just gonna let this kind of all slowly simmer. So now we're gonna have this all come back up. See, it's all starting to mix. I'm gonna cook it some more. Gonna let this cook for another. Now it's still got to cook a little bit, so we're going to get some more of our base here. All right, so we're going to let this go. I'm going to let this simmer for a few minutes now, and I'm going to come back. I'm going to check on it. Okay, so you can see there's two ways you could pop this whole thing back in the oven. I'm just going to let it go on low. Now you can see that, our sauce was not thick. There was a lot of stock in it because it's going to get thick with the starch, which is the rice. So I'm just going to let this cook now for another 4 or 5 minutes, but you can see how it's starting to get thick already just by that rice that we added to it. I'm going to let this go. So we're going to check back in a few more minutes, and then that's a version of jambalaya like you would make in a restaurant. So everything's fresh. The proteins are cooked to order. We're going to let it go another 2 minutes, and we're going to check on it. Okay, so you can see when you're making jambalaya, and like I said, if you're doing it, we showed you how you can make it in a pot, and you can do it all together, and that's a family style way to do it. But in a restaurant, or how we would do it at TV when we cater, you can't just make it all in one pot and then serve it the next day, or whenever you're doing it, it'll get kind of mushy and you'll overcook. So in a restaurant, especially when you're doing it to order, one order at a time, you need to cook the proteins to order like I showed you. So now what you're going to see here is that this is the leftover. You see how it's not really that thick. So your base should not be real thick. It should just be just about like that. Your rice has been pre-cooked, right? And then you cook your proteins, whether it's shrimp, mussels, clams, chicken, sausage, whatever you want. You'll cook those proteins and you season them. Remember, when you're using ham and sausage, if you are using those, they have a lot of salt in them. So you don't need to over salt, because that flavor of the ham and all that will add to the flavor of the rice. So you can see there's the jambalaya, and that's our cooking assignment this week.